I sincerely regret giving you bad news for starters. But if you thought that small investors in Latin America have less chance of making money than an investor here in the United States, let me tell you, so far, you've been right. For many years, what I consider the best way to invest has been reserved exclusively for the big investors of this country. Don't worry though, because this will change as of today. Because I will show you a loophole that you can use from anywhere in the world, and that practically puts you on equal terms with the great Wall Street investors. But first, you might be wondering, what is it that big investors do here in the United States that you couldn't do in any way from Latin America until today? They invest in companies such as Facebook, Google, or Amazon long before you can even think of buying a stock. Because they invest in these types of companies before they reach the stock market while they are still private. These privileged investors pay only a fraction of the price that these stocks will cost once they go public. Then, the day the company goes on the market, they make massive profits. This has happened dozens of times in recent years. This chart, it shows you the profits made by investors in eBay, Facebook, Amazon, and Snapchat before they went public, and the profits of those who bought shares after the IPO and kept their shares until today. As you can see, in some cases, investing while companies remain private is 460 times more profitable than doing it the traditional way. And it is almost 10 times faster. If you had invested $1,000 in eBay before it went public, you could have turned that money into $500,000 in just 2 years. While investing in the traditional way, you could have earned $41,060 over a period of 22 years. With Facebook, you could have turned $1,000 into $2 million if you had your shares before the IPO. Or you could have turned them into just $4,340 if you had bought your shares when the company was public and kept them until today. Just look at those numbers and realize that the biggest profits come from buying shares before the company reaches the stock market. That's why, together with Inversor Global, we are trying to reach as many people as we can to show them how they could invest in private companies. That's something that is possible thanks to a less than $50 legal shortcut. It's not about the next Amazon or a new social network that could overthrow Facebook, but it's from a fund that invests in 69 technology companies at the same time. You heard it right. Investing in this fund will automatically access 69 of the most innovative tech companies in the market. This is a double advantage for you. First, because you would be increasing your chances of finding the next giant of the tech industry. And second, because by accessing 69 companies, you would be diversifying and lowering your risks. In fact, some of these 69 companies could be failures, but it only takes one of them being successful to make the fund's value climb up. But what makes this fund's public offering so special? And why is it essential that you invest before that happens if you want to have the opportunity to make a huge profit? Because if this private tech fund reaches the stock market, it would be the largest IPO of all time, and the returns could be much higher than anything we have seen so far. This private tech fund is valued at $100 billion. You heard that right, $100 billion. There is no precedent for an IPO of this kind. Not Facebook, not Apple. No launch has been as huge as this one. Do you know how much money private investors had invested in Apple before it went public? Just $7 million. In Google, it was $25 million. And in Facebook's case, $2.2 billion. What we are talking about here is 3 of the most successful companies of all time, but they were far from the $100 billion that's invested in this private tech fund. It's even bigger than any IPO from the last year combined. And this is because there are international banks, governments, and CEOs that have invested millions of dollars in this fund. Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, he invested about $1 billion. Larry Ellison, Oracle's founder, also invested $1 billion. And the government of Saudi Arabia, now listen to this carefully, they invested $45 billion. But why are all these great players investing so much money? What do they know that you still don't know? They know that the man running this private tech fund is like a rock star in the financial world. According to some people, you should thank the CEO for the smartphone you hold in your hand right now. In the mid-2000s, the man I speak of entered Steve Jobs' office with a folded paper in his hand. When he opened it, Jobs was surprised by what he saw. It was an original drawing of a prototype smartphone, an iPod with phone capacity. And this was years before anyone could even imagine what an iPhone would look like. But why did Steve Jobs take that brilliant idea on a silver platter? Because he was looking for someone to help him launch that product to the market. Now, I wasn't at that meeting, and it's completely possible that Steve Jobs was already working on his own design at the time. But interestingly enough, shortly after the CEO took his prototype drawing directly to Steve Jobs' office, the iPhone was launched with great expectation. After that, this CEO got exactly what he wanted from Steve Jobs: exclusive rights to sell the iPhone, which did not have to go through the trouble of manufacturing in a market of more than 100 million people thirsty for technology. Securing those rights helped this man build a $22 billion personal fortune and acquire business assets estimated to be worth $190 billion. So he became the richest man in the world. And this is simply because he has made and continues to make some of the most profitable investments in history. He famously increased his investment 114 times on a small internet startup, turning a $70 million stake into an $8 billion stake. He then led a funding round for a small media company, helping them grow from $964,469 worth of valuation to $689 million. That's a 714-fold gain. But the best part was yet to come. He took a $20 million investment in an e-commerce startup and turned it into $90 billion. That's 4,500 times as much money as he started with. This guy's amazing. I believe that such a successful track record is more than enough for banks, governments, and CEOs to want to invest billions and billions of dollars in his fund. And at this time, you have the opportunity to invest in this fund with less than $50 before these shares are available to other investors. Securing a piece of that fund is something that shouldn't take you more than 10 minutes. And according to my research, the day it goes public, you could triple your investment. You have probably never had the opportunity to triple your investment in one day before. So getting that would be a great deal. But if I were you, I wouldn't sell my shares on the very first day, because this opportunity is not about making a good deal, but about having the opportunity to make a life-changing profit. And over time, I think this investment could give you astronomical returns. However, to have the opportunity to achieve something like that, you'll have to act really fast, because I think this could be one of the most important financial news items of 2020. And obviously, millions of investors from all over the world will also want to jump in. So the stock price could skyrocket almost immediately. But if you want to get ahead of all of this and invest before the stocks are available to everyone, read the report I wrote below very carefully. And obviously, I know some people need more time than others to process this information. That's why I took on the task of writing and translating this so you can take a look at all of the details very carefully. Because if you're going to invest your money in this, and I hope you do, I want you to take all the time you need to read my research. And then you can decide on your own whether this may be the biggest IPO of all time or not. But let me set the record straight. As soon as the CEO of this private tech fund announces the date of its IPO, I will immediately remove this presentation from the internet. Because as soon as he makes the announcement, the fund's stock price is likely to skyrocket, and it will no longer be a good entry point for this opportunity. So please read this report immediately before that happens. I've been working in the market for over a decade now, and it's the first time I found an opportunity like this. And at this moment, you have the chance to jump in with very little money and from wherever it is that you live. In the report that you can find below this video, I'll make sure you have everything you need so you don't miss out. How to secure shares of the world's largest private tech fund before it goes public. You will only hear about this in the report I have prepared below.